Hello, once again. Good evening from my side. I wanted today talk about the post survey reflection of my three goals. And before I get to give the results, I will want to talk about what the growth goals are, why I selected those growth goals, and to even talk about the strengths and the possible weaknesses of these growth goals. The three growth goals I decided to work with in this program is celebrating student success, processing content, and organizing students to interact. These were the three goals I selected from the beginning of the program with the aim that I want to track my own progress on how well I do these things and how well my students understand the purpose for which these things need to be done. Now, when I selected these goals, I was on a mission to track my own progress, to give myself some feedback on what to do better, what I should keep doing, and the possible innovations that I need to add in each process. I was also on a mission to understand if my kids know why it is important for me to celebrate their success, and also to even find out do they know why they need to process each content, and why do I even put them in groups? They need to understand all of these. Most of the times we assume that most of these kids know the reasons we do some of the things, but I believe that if we know the better ways to do them, that is where it becomes more important, that is where it becomes more impactful to the kids. So the strength of these goals, let's see. Talking about celebrating student success, um, when I went through this whole program, I realized that if I become very intentional in celebrating the success of my students, it doesn't really matter how small it is. It goes a long way to first of all give them the confidence that they need academically, and also to even develop them personally. Some of these kids, I realize, just need to be recognized. They just need to understand that someone is seeing the good things they are doing, and that alone serves as an avenue for other kids to emulate and then to move along in the expected direction. With processing content, most of the times it is important for us as teachers and to me personally to understand that whatever it is that I want to teach, whatever topic it is that we are treating, the kids have an idea of what is it. So it is important for us to tap into the knowledge of the kids, which could serve as their previous knowledge, and then based on that to give them the needed information that is important in the topic that is being treated. So I feel like I want to be more intentional. I want to be more conscious in some of the strategies that I use to help them process content. Organizing students to interact. I am one person that really want my class to be well organized. I want a class where students really understand some of the structures that are put in place, and I feel like the more they understand these structures, the easier it is for them to follow them and for the class to be well organized in an accepted way. So these are some of the reasons why I decided to track my own progress on these three goals, as well as coming along with my students to understand how well they know these and what they think we can all do to get a better understanding of them for our own benefit. Weaknesses. That is the saying that anything good has its own other side. And I believe that these goals do have their own weaknesses. One, for you to be more intentional of these things, it takes time. Sometimes it's not going to come all of a sudden. You have to keep trying, and some of them you try and it fails, but you have to keep trying, modifying the strategies and trying. And eventually, you're going to have an ultimate goal, which is getting better in what you do. And that is it. So, the fact that you keep trying and failing could be a weakness, and sometimes too a weakness could be in the form of how you implement it. If you have a particular strategy that is meant to make um, organizing students to interact better, or is meant to make celebrating success better, and the strategy is not well implemented, I personally believe that you are going to fail. So if it is not implemented well, then it is going to serve as a weakness in achieving the ideal purpose of the strategies. So these are some of the things I can say could serve as strengths and weaknesses to this. Now let's get into my results. I did my pre-survey results. I've already given an analysis of it. Now I'm going to just basically compare the pre-survey results and the post-survey results. When I did my pre-survey results for celebrating success, my pre-survey mean was 3.18. That is not bad, 3.18. And when I was personally going through each of the surveys, I realized that most of the kids picked neither agree or disagree, which is like point 0.3. And I felt like when a child picks neither agree or disagree, it could mean that whatever it is that you are asking, they are seeing some form of it, but the implementation process is not very intentional. So there's no clarity of purpose in whatever that is being asked. So they can either agree or disagree. So they just said, okay, neither agree or disagree, because I might be seeing it, but it might not be really evident enough to make a concrete decision based on. So I realized that for most of my pre-survey, it was full of neither agree or disagree, which is cool because sometimes I do some of the things that I don't even tell them why I do it, so they don't even know why. Now, after the pre survey, I became more intentional in implementing my strategies, and my post survey mean for celebrating success became 4.12. 4.12 is a significant change in student perception. This is so because in the whole process of applying the strategies that is meant to celebrate student success, I was very intentional and I am still very intentional about it. Whatever I do that has to do with celebrating success, I made it known to them that, okay, I am celebrating you for this and for that. For example, there was one time we had a class activity where you are supposed to talk about a student, a colleague student, talk about how they behave in class, their way of paying attention and being a part of the classroom community. And we were in the process of the activity, and there was this one of the students that is usually very quiet, not ready to talk. Sometimes you need to persuade her so many times before she will share an idea on a particular concept. So it was her turn to talk about someone else, and I was so amazed how she got her confidence and she talked about the other person, stating what the person does in class, how well the person contributes, how well she's learning from the person. I was so amazed. So at that point, I didn't stop. I didn't continue. Rather, I stopped, and then I addressed the issue and I told the lady that I am so proud of her for how far she has gained confidence in talking in class. And bet you she was so happy when I said that. She was so happy. So these are some of the little things that we can do to celebrate success. So I became intentional with that and I tracked their progress. Whatever scores that you have for a test or for an assessment, I compared that with your previous one. And sometimes I do one-on-one consultations with them, one-on-one time with my students to let them know how they are doing. And if it's something that can be said publicly, then I just do a public announcement and let them know. So aside the end of quarter celebrations that we usually have in class, I do intermittent celebrations where sometimes I just pause at a moment to let them know what is happening. So all of these strategies made it clear to me that it made an impact, and it made my average to increase by 25.75%, and that is very significant. Now with the post survey, I realized that there is clarity. There is clarity in the choice of answers the students pick. If they strongly agree, they strongly agree. If they disagree, they disagree. That becomes clarity of purpose. They do understand why they are making that decision, and that is the most important thing for me. Now let's look at processing content. In processing content, my pre-survey score had an average mean of 3.07, and there again it could be for some several extraneous factors, but I do believe that the kids understood what they did. So I worked on it. I became intentional in most of the things that I did in class by way of helping the students to process content. And after implementing these strategies for a while, I decided to do the post survey. And the post survey for processing content gave me an average mean of 4.22. I mean, there again, there has been a significant shift in students' perception of how content is processed in class. And I feel that this has to do with their recognition of how careful and intentional I was in the implementation process of these strategies. And just taking a moment to look at it, I see that the students now understand and appreciate the necessary efforts that are used to accommodate all diverse learning needs in the class. For them to be able to process content, there are several things that we do in class, and sometimes when they are doing it, I let them understand that I am doing this for you to be able to get a time to think about the content and to bring your own perspective into play. And I must say that doing that has really helped me a lot, because sometimes when we get into the middle of the topic or even from the beginning of the topic, giving students opportunity to think about it, meditate about it, bring their own concept into it, helps me to really know their level on how well they have an idea about the topic, and it helps me to be able to track and know what to exactly teach them and how to even go about it. So all of these strategies, being intentional with them, has really been helpful, and I want to say that I'll continue to do the same thing and possibly add more innovations and modifications to it when necessary. The last of my goals was organizing students to interact. Organizing students to interact, my pre-survey mean average was 3.14. Then again, there were a lot of neither agree or disagree, telling me that I might be doing some of them, but I wasn't just very intentional with them, so the kids do not have any clarity of what is happening. But the post survey average mean gave me 4.05, which indicates a percentage increase of 25.32%. And then again, I felt like the difference in the mean average gave a clear indication that the strategies are purposeful, and the quest to put value in organizing students to interact, ultimately fostering appreciation for such interactions. The students have now come to understand that there is a reason why they are being asked to collaborate. There is a reason why they are being asked to share their opinions in a particular way. So it makes me also understand that all the strategies that I'm using, I should continue to use them. I should continue to add innovations and modifications to it when necessary. So by far, I would say that these growth goals, tracking them, has been very helpful to me, and it has been very helpful to my kids. So I want to say that getting the opportunity to really practicalize some of the things that I learned was very good. I'm going to continue to use the strategies, and like I said earlier, if I have to add anything to it, I'm going to add to it. If I have to modify it, I will modify it in the way that will suit me. But at this point, I want to say that my kids really understand what it means to celebrate success, what it means to track their progress, the reason why I put them in groups to interact, and the reason why sometimes I let them make their own groups to interact. That's all has a purpose for them, and everything became easy when they understood why I did that. But from the beginning, when I wasn't telling them what I'm doing, it was really hard. But at this point, they really understand why they need to do that. So sometimes it's just easy for them to make the transitions when you want them to. And that has really been helpful. Thank you.